Nobody move.
Nobody gets hurt.
I'm Nick G.
I'm Mike D.
And this is Good Cop, Bad Cop. I'd like to thank our sponsors today, Pop McCann Whiskey, smoothest drink in the land. Grab your bottle today at popsmccannwhiskey.com. Also like to thank Friends of Martina White. Visit votemartina.com for more information about the work Martina has been doing as state representative of Pennsylvania. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Beyond Creative. If you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, visit beyondocreative.com or call 267-362-WEB1 to discuss your project. And our title sponsor, AR Law, arjusticenow.com. We fight so you don't have to. Adams Renzi Law. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and carpet. You get military and first responders discount. That is Morrow Flooring. You can go to goodcopbadcoppodcast.com. Click on his link for more details. All right, welcome back for another great show of Good Cop, Bad Cop podcast. What's up, Mike D?
Hey, everything's good, Nick G. What are we doing here?
All right, so we're going to be talking about the corrupt, possibly embattled mayor, Eric Adams of New York City. Today we have a great guest. It will be Republican New York Assemblyman from the 62nd Assembly, Mike Reilly. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Mike, for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so how long, let's get a little bit about you first before we jump into Eric Adams. How you doing, Mike? How long have you been in politics?
So I've been in office. This is my sixth year. I'm running for my fourth term this November. If you told me 18 years ago when I retired from the police department that I would be a school board member on a volunteer basis and then become the school board president and then eventually a member of the state legislature, I would have told you were crazy.
So that's
I would be in Florida. Yeah, that's, it's just that community service thing.
So we have two good cops on the show then.
Yeah, we have two and one bad. You know Mike's record. Mike's the bad cop here.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for holding the other side of the law. I appreciate that.
So full disclosure, I did, as I've been talked about before in a podcast, I started a political action committee, Protect Our Police PAC. We help get pro-police officials and retired police officers elected at the state and local level. We did donate to Mike's campaign. He was one of our successful candidates, right, Mike?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Did you run unopposed that time too, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate that in 2018 my primary was really the only race I had. I joke around and say I don't know if I'm doing a good job. It's just nobody wants it. But hopefully
people are afraid of you. That was a home run decision for us. Pretty easy to get a win there. Yeah. He wasn't running against anybody.
Well, he must be doing something right. If they're not running against you, Mike, then you're doing something good, I'd have to say.
Yeah. So, just to touch on it real quick, national politics doesn't really affect our lives every day. It does in an overall sense, but it's the state and local level that will affect you every day. And it's people like Mike that step up. Not the career politicians that get involved and want to make a difference. Right. People listening to us at home, cops that are retired or looking to retiring or looking to run. You can reach out to me and Mike, reach out to Mike Reilly. You need to get involved or we're going to have these crazy radical liberals just overtaking everything, as you can see right now. It doesn't make a difference, but you got to step up and do something about it. Be a part of the change like Mike Reilly has been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually honored to be in your presence, Mike. I really appreciate your successful retirement from the NYPD and committing your life to making a difference on a daily basis. I think that's an honorable thing. Yeah. I'll have to be honest, full disclosure. When I was ripping up the street and being the fool that I ended up being, I wanted to stop my segue into my corruption and become a difference in my neighborhood. Then I realized the damage that I did to myself would only hurt my whole chance to do anything positive. So it was very, very, the effect of doing something corrupt like I did, and you guys deal a lot of corruption in politics today, as you well know. It really damaged my future because I would have loved to have been sat there like Mike at this point in his life, retired with a pension and successfully changing and making a difference in his community. It's really heartfelt for me to say that because that's really how everybody has a moment in their life. And in my life, there was a moment that I wanted to turn it around. And I was just so encumbered by my past that it was
Oh,
it was help.
That's a great segue, because the person we'll be discussing today did exactly what you're talking about. Went from corruption to the penthouse, which would be Eric Adams. So what's your thoughts on Eric Adams and his embattlement right now?
Well, I think unfortunately it's a big distraction from the operation of New York City right now. We're seeing in the news members of his cabinet are leaving. Right, his administration, they're dropping like flies. We just had the
His head
Department of
lawyer,
Health Commissioner leave. His head lawyer. We have subpoenas being issued each day. It appears that the whole administration has a target on their back. And I think that you're seeing news articles come out now about even the potential of current commissioners that are still in the administration talking about leaving. One article that was on yesterday was about the emergency management commissioner talking about leaving in the fall.
So
he tried to step it back. So
his tentacles of corruption that are reaching really deep and throughout New York City. It's safe to say the rats look like they're fleeing the ship right now.
Well, it's just to make light of it a little bit. I mean, we do have a rat problem in New York City, and the mayor was highlighting that, right? Changing the garbage cans, and that's one of the things that we see coming out of this investigation by the federal government, right, by the FBI and the southern and eastern districts. We're seeing that they were looking into contracts now, right, between the Banks brothers. And the third brother who's not in the city administration,
right?
That we're seeing that they're questioning those contracts. So one thing that came to my mind was, what about that lucrative large North Carolina company that got the contract for the garbage pails in New York City? It's one company it's one company that is going to be making all the garbage cans that have to be sold to New York City residents in buildings that have 10 or less units. So you think about that. That's one, that's some RFP there, right?
That is a scam as the old of time. I think prostitution might be the only scam older than that.
So
that's wild.
I'm gonna let's get deep here. Let's start with Mike. So you knew who Adams was as a police officer? You might not have known him directly, but you and I both were on the job when he started the 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement organization. Do you remember that, the whole era with him?
Yep.
Yeah. So he started dividing the police department back in 1986 or so, 85, 86. I would imagine that was when that started. Would I be accurate in that statement?
I believe so. I got on in 93. So
okay, well, I went to prison in 92. So yeah, but that being said,
well, I will say, Mike, that when I was in the academy, that's how I know who you are.
You did push-ups on my back.
See that?
Yeah. I had a good friend maybe at the time, now I do, but not then, John Cardillo, who was in the police academy right around the time that you were in there.
Infamous.
And he said to me, I had to do push-ups under your name every fucking day. They said, do 10 for down. Do 10 for down. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened, but I was blamed for a lot of guys getting in shape.
That's
I was just going to say, I got in shape, so it was good.
So I guess what I'm bringing to you then is, I know that back in 86, 87, 85, he started the 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, and his whole thing was to create a division in the ranks of the police department. Because back then, by the way, when I was a young cop, we didn't, black, white, Spanish, Asian, didn't matter. We were all blue. And I would imagine in 93, it was pretty much the same when you came on. I mean,
yes.
We coexisted in a harmonious brotherhood, but there were people always looking to divide, to conquer. And clearly, from what I'm learning, and I would imagine you're more insightful in this because I'm just too freaking stupid, but you got the Caban situation breaking out, right? In the and that whole racket that these guys were pulling off, and maybe you know a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, I've never actually met the PC like personally, like have a conversation with him. I only know him from when he was put in. He attended an event here on Staten Island. That's the first time that I actually met him.
Okay.
And it's you know, you hear the stories, you read the articles, you see the newscasts on it, and it, you know, unfortunately, the perception of things that are going wrong becomes reality, right? When you think there's smoke, right, there's going to be fire, and and unfortunately, the things that have come out and developed over the last several months have actually brought us into a deep hole here in New York City. And you think about it, every time you wake up in the morning, you don't know what the headline's going to bring, who's going to be on the chopping block, who's going to be the next one out. And that's the reality we're in now. And the perception is that if you are tied to this administration, there's a dark cloud over you. And mark my words, this is going to be difficult for those people that move from this administration to look for another job. Because even if they move into the private sector or say the not-for-profit sector, people are going to always question, hey, you were part of the administration.
Right.
What role did you play in this?
So for our listeners, PC would be police commissioner and Caban was the police commissioner who recently just stepped down because of these corruption allegations and the investigations from the feds.
And now the new commissioner, that's Tempo commissioner, whatever he is, the filling
interim. Yeah.
He's also being looked at. Am I correct? Is he like under?
Well, yeah, I saw that he put out a statement late Friday night. Right, it was a Friday night 11:30 Twitter drop or X drop, whatever we're calling it now. Right. And it was a statement that when he was in the FBI, so they're going back like 20 years ago. He said that they executed a search warrant at his home and took some files that have nothing to do with the NYPD, but from a case or a scenario from 20 years ago. I don't know what that's involving, but
I don't really trust the feds all that much.
No.
So just for our listeners, Caban, the police commissioner, has a brother.
Yes, who was a police officer as well, I believe, and then
lost his job due to corruption, I believe. Opened up a nightclub, and now part of the corruption allegations against Eric Adams is involved in this, or is it is the nightclub that they own is like the meeting spot for the shady corruption that's going on. They have a lot of violations against their liquor license, against code. They're running roughshod, doing whatever the hell they want.
Right.
And apparently this is where a lot of the Eric Adams corruptions are taking place, or meetings. I don't exactly know. I know it's tied in somewhat. Can you clarify any of that with this nightclub?
So, I mean, like I said, all I've known is through what the media is reporting right now. I've never been to the club in the Bronx. I've never been to any of those restaurants. Yeah. Well, I'm happy I lived.
Yeah. Was P. Diddy at some of these meetings?
Well, it's funny that you bring up P. Diddy. I was actually involved in that case with P. Diddy and J-Lo back in the Club New York. Yeah, I was actually I was actually the one who
let's get to this.
All right.
Yeah.
No, all right. So hold on. Start from the beginning. How are you involved in this? What happened?
All right. So
wheel involved.
Are you with the gun suppression unit? Is that what you were in?
Well, Midtown. I was doing patrol in Midtown North on the late tours with my partner, and the foot post from Midtown South puts over a 1085 shots fired. We're one of the first cars on the scene. As I get there, I'm on 43rd Street and 8th Avenue. I'm going to walk up to run up to the club or whatever. And all of a sudden the SUV comes at me driving on the sidewalk and goes northbound on 8th Avenue. We're standing there. All of a sudden my sergeant, the patrol sergeant, puts it over the air. And he's like, I'm following a Lincoln Navigator northbound on 8th Avenue going through red lights. This is the short version. We jump in the car. At the corner of 54 and West 54th Street and 8th Avenue, which is the corner of Midtown North Precinct, a car came out, stopped the SUV. There was a white limo in front of it, and a girl gets out of the back of the Navigator, and she's walking to the limo, and I yell out to her, I go, hey, where you going? Get over here. So I grab her, and I start frisking her because we know there's a gun in the car. So now she looks at me, and she's like, oh, my fans. I'm like, yeah, honey, I have them too. I have no idea who she is. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So now I bring her over to the sidewalk. I'm finishing, right? And we're talking, and now I'm ready to cuff her because there's a gun in the car. And my sergeant goes, "Hey, Jennifer, listen, what happens is there's a gun in the car. Everybody gets taken in. The district attorney's situated. I'm looking at him going, how does he know her name? And all of a sudden I look at her face and I'm like, oh boy. So, yeah. And then the rest is.
He wasn't looking at her face in the beginning.
No, well, I was worried about, I got to be honest with you, I was worried about a gun. With that case, there was the guy Jamal Shine, right? Jamal Barrow, who was sentenced for 10 years in that shooting. The guy they were shooting at, his nickname, his street name was Scar. His last name was Marshall. And I believe it or not, I made sergeant just after that case. I was on the list. I got promoted, and then all of a sudden went to trial. I had to go down to Prince George's County, Maryland, with two detectives from Midtown South. They didn't have a sergeant to go, and I was a rookie sergeant, just got married. The ADA says, "Hey, can you do me a favor? I need you to go down with two of the detectives." So I'm like, "All right, I got to check with my wife." I said, "I just got married. I never went away into job." So all of a sudden, she says, "Okay, no problem." I go down with the detectives. The two detectives knew me as a rookie in Midtown North.
Oh,
so of course, what do they tell me? "Hey, rookie, you're driving." Here I am, I'm the supervisor. I got to drive.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's funny. So now, why'd you go to Prince George County?
So the guy Marshall, who they were shooting at, was we got a tip that he was down there. So we worked with their Prince George's County narcotics squad, and we tracked him down.
You pinched him down there?
Say again? Yeah, we got him down there. Yeah, we got him in. Yeah.
So
it took us about 2 days.
Any interaction with P. Diddy during this, or just J-Lo?
No, just actually, believe that the only thing, the interaction was just watching him in front of the desk as when the sergeant was logging them in with the arrest.
So she actually got processed. She got processed as well.
Originally, yes.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Wait, what year was that, Mike?
So that happened in 99, 98, 99. Yeah, because I got promoted in 2000.
It was big news.
December of 99.
It was all over the news for months, even, on and off, the whole situation. And then the trial, which somehow P. Diddy beat the. Now, what were the facts as they broke down? Did he fire a shot? Allegedly? Right?
Allegedly, a witness did say that he fired a shot, but there was no real evidence to back that up, that he fired a shot. Mm-hmm. There was supposedly multiple guns. One gun was thrown out of the SUV, and it was recovered.
Never recovered.
One gun. Well, one gun was recovered in the SUV. Believe it or not, there was this guy who was known as the bodyguard for P. Diddy at the time, Puffy at the time. His last name was Wolf, and he was a really bad dude. He actually was a victim of a homicide himself for a few years after that trial. So when you're involved in that life, unfortunately, that's what happens. Right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Who the hell knew we'd be discussing P. Diddy? Be relevant to what we're talking about today, right?
Well, it's funny though, because and I shouldn't say funny, right? We talk about that case and that trial, and everybody talks about Puffy and J-Lo and all that, and we forget about the girl who was actually a victim and shot in the face. I used to pick her up.
Yeah,
I had to pick her up in New Jersey when I got assigned to the DA's office during that case. I would pick her up and take her to court, and it's just that
she
goes
disfigured.
Well, she had surgery. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I think she got shot just under the nose, so she's lucky to be alive.
Damn.
Was she intentionally shot? Was she targeted?
No.
Okay.
No, she was just an innocent bystander at the club. That got struck.
And who were they shooting at? Marshall? Were they shooting at this?
Well,
Marshall?
that's what it is. Yeah, supposedly the scenario broke out because Marshall looked at Puffy and his crew and basically threw money at him, as if to basically say, "Hey, listen, you ain't shit. I got money too." And then that's how that all stemmed.
Wow, and a shooting.
But it is. Nick, you mentioned. Oh, I can't believe a segue into we're talking about P. Diddy but think about it. Eric Adams gave P. Diddy the key to New York City.
This is all for me. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think it's all tied in, the whole debauchery here, because you have P. Diddy gets the key to the city. Adams tells Biden to go fuck himself for 1 second, and the whole thing blows up. And now P. Diddy is back in court. Adams is back getting pressure from all angles. I believe not knowing, but we can just throw it out there. Our audience can decide. Then it's all connected. I think it's all connected. And the Caban thing, I'm hearing stories from the back mills about a lot of shakedowns that went on for years with that whole crew. I think they were in a unit called the Gun Suppression Unit or something like that. Like they might have changed the names of them throughout the years. And they ran pretty rampant in, I don't know if it was the Bronx or Upper Manhattan.
Is this during the 90s or 2000s?
Into the 2000s, yeah. And they were taking payoffs from clubs and owners, pressuring people with their licenses and threatening to have their licenses taken from them if they didn't hire Caban's brothers' security. And if we can fix anything you need, but we'll be, as a consultant, he was acting as a consultant. His brother was acting as a consultant to mediate things. I mean, these guys had a nice little payoff racket that they
mafias.
Yeah,
it's typical New York mafia shakedowns.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just going through the police departments and officials in the police department and politicians. Not Mike, of course. I'd like to thank our sponsors today, Martina White. Friends of Martina White can visit votemartina.com for more information about the work Martina's been doing as a state representative in Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, Mike, she's a big supporter of police. She backs the blue. She's a proven fighter for families, women, everybody.
Is she a patriot? Is she America first?
Absolutely. She encompasses, the American spirit for sure. We have a big population of listeners in Northeast Philadelphia, Southeast Pennsylvania, which would be her area. So you can check her out.
Has she been in? I'm not familiar with the Philly district. Is she new to the scene, or is she, looking for re-election?
She'll be up for re-election in a couple years, but she's been around for a while. She has a proven track record.
Okay.
You can check her out. Her record really speaks for itself, especially when it comes to fighting for everyday citizens and backing the blue.
It's nice to have someone back in the blue. I mean, the officers are out there risking their lives every day, and with little pay and little appreciation in today's environment, it's been very difficult. And as you know, being a Philadelphia guy,
unfortunately, it's something that's not common. Should be. It used to be a time where both sides of the aisle agreed on law enforcement, and that's something that's completely lacking. But with Martina White, she steps up to the plate, always has our backs, and does what's right.
Great. Good luck with Martina.
Yeah, you can get more information at votemartina.com. I'd like to thank our title sponsor of the show, Adams Renzi Law, AR Law. They can be found at arjusticenow.com. And just to let you know, I know both of them personally. Christy, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, total sweetheart, absolute pit bull in the courtroom. And Nick Renzi, he's a South Philadelphia guy, true and true, neighborhood man. He's for the people. He helps people out down in South Philly, all around Philadelphia.
Their office is in South Philly itself?
Yes, their office is in right around South Philly, Center City, right on the border.
Do they handle
there.
a lot of criminal cases?
They handle everything, absolutely.
Are they on call 24/7 for someone who might take a pinch somewhere?
Why, you might be taking a pinch?
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, wherever you show up, you got to be ready.
Well, you can keep their card on you.
Go
to their website and call them up.
Will they give me a deal since they're sponsors of the show?
You might get a percentage off. I'll have to talk to her.
Okay, yeah.
If you used them a few years ago, you might have not have gotten 14 years.
Well, that's another story.
Another story for another time.
That's right.
Again, AR Law, check them out, arjusticenow.com. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Beyond.0. In today's world, your business is practically invisible if you're not online. With so many options for marketing your business, it's easy to get confused. That's where Beyond.0 Creative steps in. They have the expertise to help you with all of your marketing needs. Need a website that wows visitors? They'll build it. Want to reach more customers with Google Ads? They'll make it happen. They'll even manage your social media so you can focus on what you do best. Beyond.0 Creative is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and Google Premier Partner. They're the real deal. If you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, visit beyondocreative.com. That's BIONDOCREATIVE.com or call 267-362-WEB1, Web 1, to discuss your project now. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and carpet, military first responder discount, Tommy, we had him as a guest on a podcast. You can get your flooring done by a real American hero.
Yeah, and he's on time and on budget.
Yes, he is. He will beat any price. Bring a quote, an estimate, whatever you have. Tommy will beat it, 100% guaranteed. You have our backing on that one.
And he'll be there himself.
Absolutely. You can get a real American hero do your flooring for you. So this is your district. A lot of this takes place down, where you're an assemblyman. How does this affect you and your positions and what you're looking to do for the community going forward?
Well, the real impact is me getting quality service from my constituents here on the South Shore of Staten Island, right? And making sure that what's going on with these investigations by the federal government, regardless of what the outcome may be, right? It's about me ensuring that the services that they pay taxes for are provided in a timely fashion. Right?
Yeah, so your constituents are basically the victims of a lot of these scams.
Well, listen, as New Yorkers, we all are when incidents happen like this, right? And the reality is, listen, we pray that we would hope that it's not true, right? But unfortunately, time and time again, we see that sometimes what we think that'll never happen. And all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, it really happened. And it's a kick in the gut, because when we try and do the right thing, we all get painted with that broad brush, right? And it's the same thing when something happens in, say, the police department, right?
Yeah.
And every time you show up to a job, you're in uniform, they're like, oh, you're that freaking corrupt cop, you're that. And that's the sad reality, that people don't realize that when they do something and they're in an organization, that organization takes the hit. Right. And I think that's the sad reality that we all face. And the same thing happens in politics, right? When you see politicians getting arrested or accused of corruption, then all of us are painted as that broad brush, and everybody thinks, oh, you're on a take. I can't tell you how many times people ask me, hey, you get some of that insider trading? I'm like, no.
Yeah. They call you up about some major.
Yeah, you got to be in DC for that.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to know is, how do you think the federal government is capable? I mean, you're a Republican. Let's be straight and honest here. You're a Republican. You're a conservative individual. I'm sure you have a little liberal bent to you, because most conservatives are liberal, really. The word liberal. They're not liberty. They're more for libertines, for less government, less infringement, more self-propagating people.
Live your life the way you want to.
Live your life. Just don't tell me how to live, and I won't tell you how to live. Just don't step on my feet along the way, right? I mean, that's how we want to live. But what's your faith in the federal government in handling this type of investigation? Because these are all democratic regimes investigating democratic regimes.
Stop dancing around it. Just say, do you have faith that they're actually going to prosecute this case, or just like Hillary Clinton and the scrubbing of 30,000 emails is just going to go away? Nothing's going to happen, especially if Kamala wins. Or do you think they're actually going to make an example of this guy and say, hey, look, we do prosecute our own?
I want to make sure. I would hope, as not only as a Republican, but as a New Yorker and as an American, that they're going to do their due diligence and do the investigation the way it's supposed to be done, regardless of political affiliation. But you can't be naive, right? There are times when, hey, we can't touch this. We can't go in this direction because this may impact something that we're aligned with, right? Yeah, that's the sad reality.
There's two tiers.
And remember this. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it's in the infancy stage right now, right? This investigation. Let's see if they put together a grand jury. Let's see if they move forward with actually using the stuff that they was removed in the search warrants, right? The numerous search warrants that they performed. Let's see what they present that evidence to. Do they move forward with a grand jury? And that'll be a telltale sign of whether they're really truthful about prosecuting potential
And unfortunately, the feds, with everything they do, especially investigations and prosecutions, as you know, very slow. So as you said, the infancy stage, this is going to take a long time to play out. One of the questions I have about Ark Adams, are you familiar with with the Turkey, the country Turkey, and Eric Adams possibly funneling money through Turkey. Why would a New York City mayor have anything to do with another country or foreign affairs at all? Do you guys know anything about that?
Well, I like I said, I followed it through the news and those and some, the stories that came out about it. And well, you notice that the piece to that really causes an issue for the administration, right, is that the fire department officials were supposedly pushing through a building permit, right, and permits that they needed for construction on a Turkish consulate, I believe it was, or some building that was on there, right? So when you think about that, and you put those pieces together, that's how that's how most of these investigations have started, right? Over that incident. So like I said earlier at the beginning, right, if you're tied to this administration, you unfortunately are going to have a black cloud over you when you look for another job. And that's a shame too, because there are some really good people that I know that are in the administration.
Right.
And, the problem becomes now, are you going to be a liability to the future employer?
So, most people think when these investigations happen, the politicians are in the know and aware, and there's this whole system of sharing information, and everyone knows what the hell's going on, and they're involved. It sounds like you're just like us. You're out in the dark. You're an assemblyman in New York. This involves your constituents, and you're getting your information from the news.
Yeah, I mean that's it, because they don't do. It's not like they do press conferences or do weekly phone calls with electeds to share things that are going on. And I got to be honest with you, I don't want to have those conversations with them. Yeah. I don't want them to update me on what's going on with their investigations. I don't need my phone taken from me, right? No. This is going to play out the way it plays out and the way the feds move forward with it. Yeah.
One of the things that it would be remiss if we didn't mention it is this the illegal migrant alien thing that's going on in the city, and the administration, Eric Adams' administration, their initial rejection and then their total embrace of it. If you notice how things changed dramatically. And from what I understand, I think I even caught a piece of a meeting that he was holding at City Hall saying basically, and this happened under Dinkins when I was running the street corrupt, it's time to get ours. And that was one of the things he actually almost verbatim said in the meeting, like in front of his whole constituency and business leaders. So basically he was saying, embrace the illegal alien aspects of this and make the money. I mean, it was almost those exact words. I'm not going to quote that, but that's basically what he said in a meeting. It's time to make the money on this and just go full steam ahead. I mean,
how's the constituents making money off of this? If anything, they're losing services.
But it's not about the constituents. It's about his crew. It's basically his organization. Call it his mob, the Adams mob in this case. I mean, they all in on this.
The Adams family.
The Adams family. They got the three Banks brothers, right? The three Banks brothers are cleaning house. I mean, everybody is reaping the rewards of the corruption beyond what we know. I would just love to be, because I like corruption, and I don't mean that. And I like to know about it. I like to know about it. I like to know what happens, how it happens, who's paying who. Is it just nepotism getting the work? So, for example, the guy owns a hotel. It's at 40% occupancy. He brings people in at $400 a day. Now it's 100% occupancy. You can make or break somebody as the mayor of a city in 1 second. Okay, I mean, Mike, am I sounding correct or at least logical here?
Well, you do. You do have a lot of influence over what services, what contracts, who's presented, how you present an RFP, right, or request for proposal.
So with that,
how are you going to do that solicitation for the business?
That trash can scam you're telling us about, the North Carolina, was that a no bid contract awarded? Do you know?
No, I'm not 100% sure. No, there was an RFP. There was a request for proposal. So I don't know how many requests came in, but the entire system the plan that they have, which is a 10-year contract with 2 5-year renewals, and we're talking billions of dollars. Right?
Is there a vow at the end of that company? Because New York and waste management usually goes hand in hand with the mafia. I'm kind of surprised that it's out of state in New York, North Carolina. You can see the tides of corruption have changed dramatically.
Yeah. Well, one of my questions would be, where is the money? So, Mike, as an assemblyman, right? Assemblyman, is that this?
Yes.
Okay. As an assemblyman, would you be familiar with these cash cards? That the migrants are getting the Citibank debit swipes? I mean, they have to come. I don't know this, but does anyone vote on this stuff? Or are you made aware that the city is now issuing these cards? I mean, does that come across your desk? Do you have any say in it? Do you have any awareness of who bids this? The cards get made. Someone pays for the card to be made. Someone pays for the card to be loaded up, and then delivered. The bank itself is getting a piece of every transaction. So, I mean, there's a lot of,
So basically that would go through the city council, right? The 51 members of the city council. But I will tell you that, at the state level, right, our main focus is the budget, right? So the state budget, right? Our state budget is due by April 1st. Yes, not city.
State. Okay.
So our state budget is due by April 1st of each year, right? And the reason why I'm mentioning that is part of our state budget that was voted on this year allocated money to New York City for the migrant crisis.
Right.
And part of that is funding those cards.
How much are they getting on cards? Do you know? Is it 1,000?
I don't know. I don't know specifically. I thought I might have heard 500, but I'm not 100. I couldn't give you a solid answer.
I heard 1,000, but I mean, extrapolate that by,
400,000.
Yeah, 400,000 X, and that's a lot of damn money.
So how about this question? Does a child migrant get the same as an adult migrant? I mean, that's a question I'm asking.
Yeah.
My mother.
So they break down the shelters, right? That have been put in place. So they have family shelters. So that may be like one card for a whole family. I don't know the exact. I'm just spitballing here, right?
Right.
And then they have shelters that are just for single men, right? And then they have shelters that are just for single women.
Okay.
Now, do you think the Adams family tentacles of corruption is reaching down into this migrant crisis and taking advantage of it, as Mike briefly touched on?
Listen, I have no knowledge of any illegal activity regarding that. But I will say, I think there's a lot of mismanagement, and I think the New York City controller needs to look into this. I think the state controller should look into it, because we did allocate state funds to New York City for this. So this is something that there should be audits, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is, that should show where the money our taxpayers funded is going.
And right now,
right now it just goes into a hole, and that's it. You're done, right? So tell me exactly. Give me an accounting of where these funds are going, what they're being spent on.
I'll guarantee you, some of it's going right to Act Blue. I bet my life on it.
Oh, that whole scam, that's starting to break out too. That's
obviously we can't say for sure, but that's just a hunch. That's my tinfoil hat.
Yeah. Well, there's people donating to Act Blue that never donated to Act Blue but once. And once you get on that list, they keep donating to your name. You know that, right?
Yeah, this is a true fact. All recent presidential or assassination attempts are all from Act Blue donors. It's a true fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Wrapping up, is there anything else you want to touch on with Eric Adams?
No,
the predictions, possibly?
I think the way things are rolling out, I think there's going to be some quick action within the next few weeks. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of the administration bailing and, but like we said earlier, right? The federal government moves slowly.
It sure does.
Let's see if this leads to an indictment and possible resignation. Who knows? But we'll see what happens.
The fact that we're here already, they don't do anything unless it's going to be a clear winner. They don't like to lose, so it has to be already stacked in their favor for them to even move this way against someone like Eric Adams in a city like New York City. Mike,
well, I think what I'm fearful though is that someone's going to be a fall guy or a fall gal, right?
Yeah.
And we know that that's how. Oftentimes, that's what the feds. When the federal investigation happens,
right?
We see that, right? It doesn't fully go through the process that we thought it was going to, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we got somebody we're done.
It's over.
Yeah.
Hello, goodbye. Thank you.
Especially when there's a D next to their name.
Check that box.
Tends to happen.
Yeah. So.
All right, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Be well.
This episode is sponsored by AR Law, PA State Rep Martina White, Biondo Creative, Morrow Flooring, and Pops McCann Whiskey.